Good afternoon, Tech Nation. Welcome to Webinar Wednesday. We are excited to have over 450 pre-registered attendees for today's special roundtable discussion on what's new in patient monitoring. Let's get started by giving away one lucky attendee a Tech Nation Tour t-shirt. The NFL announced recently the locations for Super Bowls 53, 54, and 55. Which state will host the Super Bowl for 2020? Answer now using the questions feature on your dashboard. While you are answering, I want to remind you all that Tech Nation is headed to Tampa, June 4th through the 6th for the annual AMI conference. Stop by our booth 1009 to visit the Tech Nation team and pick up your wristband for our 8th annual Tech Nation Reader VIP party. You can find out more details in your webinar workbook or online at onetechnation.com/AMI. All right, looks like the winner of the Tech Nation Tour t-shirt is Paul Graham. Correctly answered. It's going to be in the state of Florida, Sun Stadium, home of the Miami Dolphins. Congratulations, Paul. Send us your t-shirt size, and we'll go ahead and get that in the mail to you. As a friendly reminder, the ICE conference in Chicago this July 20 and 21 will have over 26 ASRT certified credit hours and bring 500 imaging service professionals from across the nation for 2 days of learning, networking, and the latest advances in imaging. Registration is now open. You can receive a complimentary admission by using the promo code ICE Early Bird by June 1st. Details and promo code can be found on attendice.com. Okay, let's get started. Tech Nation would like to thank our sponsors for today's roundtable: Southwestern Biomedical Electronics, Pacific Medical, USOC Medical, and Fluke Biomedical. Our first presenter today will be Brandon Smith. Brandon is a sales manager for Pacific Medical, which provides hospitals and surgery centers worldwide a reliable source for the repair and refurbishment of patient monitoring equipment. Brandon, you can begin whenever you are ready.
All righty, thank you, John. Good morning, everybody. Well, at least everybody out here on the West Coast with me. Good afternoon to everyone in the rest of the country, I suppose. As John mentioned, my name is Brandon Smith. I am a sales manager here at Pacific Medical, and we are located in sunny Southern California. Today I'm just going to talk a little bit about our company, a bit about our history, where we came from, where we are as an industry in general, and a little bit about where we think we might be headed in the future. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Pacific Medical, we are a patient monitoring repair company, and we also provide refurbished equipment. We've been around about 11 years. We were founded by our current president and CEO, Andy Bonin. Back in those days, it was a one-man show. He kind of did everything. But since then, we have grown into a family of over about 105 employees at last count. And throughout that, we've just been focused and maintained on our founding principles of providing high-quality customer service. So that's both on the technical end as far as the quality of repairs and equipment that we provide, but also on the customer end with the relationship, making sure that we understand our customers' needs in this expanding industry of the biomedical community. So when we first started, we were kind of working on accessories, cables, SpO2 sensors, fetal transducers, things like that. And at that time in the industry, there wasn't really a whole lot of choices as far as having a comprehensive solution to your patient monitoring needs. You maybe had companies that specialized in one modality. Maybe they were great at pumps or fixing LCD screens or what have you. But nothing like a one-stop shop option was available, and that's basically where Pacific Medical saw an opportunity to fill that need and expand into everything that we do today. So currently our core modalities covering many OEMs from Philips, GE, Space Labs, you name it. We handle monitors, modules, telemetry transmitters, O2 blenders, infusion pumps, etc. Basically, anything that you might need in the patient monitoring realm. And we pride ourselves on helping to be, one of the founding members that sort of led that trend for that type of service. And so as a result, we've experienced a lot of growth over the years, which doesn't just underscore the success of Pacific Medical, but it more importantly underscores the need in the industry for the type of comprehensive services that we offer, especially as, I'm sure most of you who are biomeds can attest, you're being asked to do a lot more with less. A lot of times biomed shops are understaffed and overworked, and they need to focus on their priorities, and that's kind of where the the industry is at the moment, which again kind of brings us to where we feel that we find ourselves right now in this industry. There's a lot of competing priority. I think we're all probably aware we have healthcare reform, we have an aging population, we have a growing population, we have a a healthcare system that is feeling the strain of those demands, and you're kind of sort of at a meeting or a singularity where you're trying to provide the same level of quality and patient safety that's expected of a medical institution. But at the same time, you're being asked to do that on a cost, ratio of pennies on the dollar. And so Pacific Medical greatly understands, that need, and we've spent a considerable amount of time and resources developing our processes, employing technicians that have degrees in engineering who understand circuitry and component level repairs, rather versus doing some of the board swapping that you guys might be familiar with. Working on the component level, and also streamlining our customer service capabilities. And that's pretty much, we see that continuing as far as what we see going into the future. Biomed, I read in an article, it must have been about a year ago at this point, but I think biomedical engineering was the fastest, if not one of the fastest growing fields in the country as far as tech goes. So there's no sign that any of this is slowing. I think for guys that have been around a while, you might be able to agree that in the past there was a separation between IT departments and biomed departments, but that's sort of driving to more of an integration of that, and Pacific Medical is aware of that, and being on the bleeding edge of technology as all of the devices are becoming integrated, everything's hopping onto the network now, and a telemetry transmitter used to be a plastic box with some lead wires, and now it's got an LCD screen, and it's pretty much a little portable patient monitor. So things are changing at a at a rapid pace, and Pacific Medical understands the need to be in front of that and be able to provide the services on the bleeding edge. But at the same time, as I mentioned before, with the cost crunches, not every hospital system is going to flip to the latest and greatest every 5 or 7 years or whatever the OEMs decide their end of life is going to be. And so, a lot of places will be supporting their legacy systems, and they'll need a partner in the industry that's able to do that. So we're, still maintaining our core services of today while also looking towards the future as the technology changes rapidly and kind of merges together. And that's sort of what we see as the next level. Is that type of integration and staying with the trends while maintaining fast turn times that you guys need in order to get your equipment up and running and get those beds back up, and so the hospital can do what it's there to do. And that's basically it. I appreciate everybody's attention for my short presentation, and thank you very much. I think I'm ready to hand it to the next presenter.
That's it. Thank you, Brandon. We appreciate that. Great information. Moving on, our next presenter today is going to be Jerry Zion, Global Training Manager at Fluke Biomedical, a renowned veteran in the medical device industry. Jerry has more than 35 years experience in working in many capacities for various medical device manufacturers. He spent the last decade at Fluke Biomedical pioneering the global training program. Jerry, you can begin whenever you are ready.
Fluke Biomedical is very interested and working very diligently on not only responding to the innovations, especially around patient monitor testing, but also around our own innovations and providing you with the test tools for the measurements that matter in ways that are really compelling for you. But just to remind you that we've been in the business over 40 years in leadership roles with the various legacy companies that have made and currently make up Fluke Biomedical. There are innovations that are driven in the patient monitoring part of the industry that we can see coming that you may or may not be aware of. The first one is around ECG as a patient parameter. 15 and 18 lead ECG is definitely coming. It's been under development for many years, beginning with companies like Mortara, which is now whose technology has now been integrated into other businesses. But some of the questions that it causes us to ask as a test instrument creator is how many applied part posts are on the electrical safety analyzer, and how many need to be there, and what's the optional accessory for that if we needed to drive it with an accessory. As you know, in the ESA 612 and ESA 615, they only have 5 lead posts, but a lot of the high acuity patient monitors and defibrillators and so forth have for sure 10 leads these days. As these increase to 15 and 18, we need to create something, another way to have a look at what these at the electrical safety part of this need for the applied parts. Today we provide that 1 to 10 adapter that shorts together anything you connect to it and treats it as one applied part. That's one way to deal with it. We think there might be some better ways. Another thing we worry about for ECG and this 15 and 18 lead is how does the waveform look, so that a comparison between what is sent from a patient simulator like ProSim 8 or ProSim 4 or ProSim 2 or 3 can be compared against what you see on the display screen of the patient monitor. And how do we know that that waveform that's sent and the waveform that you see is a valid waveform? And then how is the metrology affected for ECG? Now, metrology is one of those terms some of you know and some of you don't, and so metrology is the science about the unit of measure that's used for particular patient parameters and how we measure those. Traditionally, ECG, of course, is measured with a 1 millivolt pulse or 1 millivolt square wave at a particular frequency. So does that need to change with 15 or 18 lead ECG? Those are the questions we're asking ourselves, the companies that are developing these, that we're engaged with in their development groups to make sure that we have test tools that will do this measurement when you need it. Blood constituent functions, and the reason I called it this, you'll recognize this more as Masimo Rainbow, for example, as a real good example in commercially available about how the functionality for non-invasive pulsed co-oximetry might be provided, and Rainbow really does a great job of that. So you don't have to draw a blood gas sample, find a laboratory that has a co-oximeter, a clinical laboratory, and then get that blood gas sample analyzed. Especially works well for low perfusion estimates of gas exchange, as well as making sure we understand what is when a patient is poisoned, carbon monoxide poisoned, versus when they're not. 2 wavelength pulse oximetry can't tell you that information. Masimo did a great job around that innovation. It remains the only example of it to date for pulsed co-oximetry, and so we originally, when we did ProSim 8, we worked with Masimo to develop a way to functionally test that capability, to show you the different blood constituents with a repeatable, reliable way of assessing whether what you're seeing is what is being sent and therefore valid in terms of the test. There is no agreed upon metrological unit of measure for oximetry or co-oximetry right now, even though that may not make sense on the surface. It's just that that's the case. So we ask the other question, what does this bode for the future? can there be ever a metrology parameter measurement that everybody can rely on that has uniform adoption and understanding of what is that unit of measure and how do we verify it? Pulse oximetry, the thing that's coming mostly right now is the increased use of reflectance pulse oximetry as opposed to the absorption pulse oximetry that we've been used to. And there's a deeper dive that you may want to take on that technology that we'd be happy to help with. Not new, it's gaining interest, and it's under development in a lot of the smaller patient monitoring companies. One might believe that there's a proper reason for the use of reflectance measurements instead of absorption, but what will the evidence show? What will we see in the peer review? And those are things that we're watching as well. Today's functional testers are designed around the absorption pulse oximetry technology, and so reflectance will require changes in every test equipment manufacturer. So we're interested in seeing what we can do, and so those are things that we're looking at. Even NIBP, you know, for the longest time while I was the product manager for the ProPac monitors, that are now part of Welch-Allyn, which was just acquired by Hillrom. It's not only about the measurement through motion that we were always working on back then with SmartCuff and other technologies like that, but how can the patient be untethered from the patient monitor for non-invasive and invasive measurements without affecting the accuracy of the patient data? This is very, very important these days because of the impact of the Affordable Care Act and what it's having on the development and serious development of the electronic health record for patients and all of the data, every single beat going into that health record and being held electronically. So a good question can be asked because there are experiments in development of disposable ultrasound-based assessments of NIBP that are underway. The question that you might ask is, will the cuff go away and we'll still be able to make measurements non-invasively of blood pressure? Really a critical measurement for patient care. Will phantoms be needed, and might there be a move away from quantitative measurements towards simple qualitative assessment like phantoms provide in X-ray imaging and other ultrasound imaging? And then what happens to the metrology? Once again, the metrology really will matter, and you'll see more of that as time goes by. And there's a new calculation that there's a lot of interest in and has been for about 2 years, maybe a little bit more, that we've been aware of anyway. The pulse transit time. The calculation of pulse transit time may provide the opportunity to estimate blood pressure with sufficient accuracy to be clinically meaningful. So one definition of pulse transit time is the time it takes the pulse pressure waveform to propagate through the length of the arterial tree, from the heart out across the arterial tree. May use ECG, R waves as a gate in order to provide that assessment, or some other related pulsatile parameter. It may allow the prediction of continuous blood pressure and related parameters, again, critical to the diagnosis of patient problems, as well as the assessment of the effectiveness, relative effectiveness of treatment programs. So this certainly has implications for test instruments such as patient simulators and functional testers and electrical safety analyzers that Fluke Biomedical makes and brings to the market for you. We know that you trust us as the company that can innovate around new ideas and measurements of patient parameters, that you trust us for the measurements that matter to you, and we want to continue to lead and be worthy of that trust. I know this is a little bit commercial rather than more educational like you usually hear me speak, but this is what really matters to us. If there's a why, our why is the desire to deliver to you a test instrument that's easy for you to use right out of the box, that you are able to make the proper assessments of accuracy, determinations of accuracy that have great traceability, that you can actually do simple calculations around the uncertainty of your measurements, which in a 17025 requirement world, as we're entering right now, so that even you and your calibrations of medical devices are able to comply with that 17025 regulatory requirement. Thank you very much. Of course, you know you can always access Advantage training that's available to you 24/7 on the Fluke Biomedical website.
Jerry, thank you so much. We appreciate that. Great information. Okay, our next presenter today is Jennifer Genoa. Jennifer has been in the biomedical industry for 4.5 years and has over 10 years experience in customer service and quality control. She's the operations manager at Southwestern Biomedical Electronics. Jennifer, begin whenever you are ready.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate it. My name is Jennifer Genoa, and like you said, I'm employed at Southwestern Biomedical Electronics. I am the operations manager. I am a woman of many hats, but I'm sure many of you know how that works. Here at Southwestern Biomedical, we have been in business for over 30 years. We specialize in servicing Space Labs healthcare patient monitoring equipment, all the way down from accessories to board level repairs. We do parts, we do service, board exchanges, tech support. All of our technicians are cross-trained in different equipment, as well as myself. I can even give standard troubleshooting assistance to people that call. Mostly what I'm going to discuss is what's new with the Space Labs healthcare equipment itself, since I'm not too familiar with any other manufacturer. So one of the big things that has been implemented that you see all across the board is the need for electronic records. The medical personnel use this to access the patient data on portable devices, such as like iPads. They can access it from their computers at home. This allows them to have constant, seamless patient care. There have also been apps that are created. Here in Tulsa, one of the major hospitals is St. Francis. They have an app called My Chart. It allows even myself to access my own medical records if need be. This could help a lot of people. It definitely does reduce paper charting. Reducing paper charting gets rid of human error. All of us, I'm sure, are guilty of that. Reducing any type of error improves quality of service, so that is definitely nice to have. Next, you have the new portable monitors. So this is the Cube. It is their new patient monitor. It is backwards compatible, which is always nice, so that they don't have the hospitals don't have to replace their command modules and accessories. It does alarm in 3 different ways. You can do audible, remote, and it also is a visual. It has extra battery life. It can last up to 8 hours. It can have 3 batteries in the unit itself. All of these monitors are customizable, so how Space Labs charges it is it's per feature. All of the new monitoring that Space Labs came out with does have LED displays instead of the CCFL backlights, which does reduce failures. The monitor is only 9 pounds. So most people at some point of time have experienced old patient monitoring or a portable monitor, and they would weigh up to 50 pounds. So they've definitely come a long ways, only weighing 9. Next is the new telemetry that Space Labs has to offer. So there are the 3 options available here. There's one without a display, one with a display, and one with SpO2. You're seeing an increased usage of telemetry in hospitals. The display allows the nurse to make sure that the unit is working while being at the bedside without having to go somewhere else. Many of you may not know that Space Labs actually pioneered telemetry by monitoring vital signs of NASA's orbiting astronauts. They are sealed better to prevent liquid intrusion. It is a common problem with telemetry where they take showers or leave or get dropped in numerous places. So they are sealed much better to help reduce those types of issues, which do definitely have cost savings. One of the new things that Space Labs has as well is the new Central. It is a PC-based Central. It allows one Central to monitor up to 48 patients. As you can see, it does look a lot like a computer tower. With the one Central, you can hook up either 1 to 4 displays, which they are 22-inch touchscreen monitors. They have fully customizable displays as well. You can organize the monitors at your own accord. So you can choose to organize your patients by their condition, group by their doctor, the severity of their case. You can choose to be alerted by different color waveforms or be alerted by a sound. And then something new you also see is a virtual sticky note. So if you pull up one patient on the Central, you can add a note for somebody else to look at later. Once again, helping to reduce those paper charts. So that's a closer look at the monitors you can have. Something new that Space Labs has also came out with the monitors. So this is their new portable monitor, the Cube, and on the back is a capnopod. It is a new way of doing end-tidal CO2. It does attach just to the back of the monitor with just one connector. This also makes it to where with Space Labs equipment, the generation of equipment before this, you would have to fix a mounting device on the bottom of the monitor. So you no longer have to do that. You can just attach it to the back of the monitor. And it does start to work almost immediately. With under 10 seconds, it does start to go ahead and record the end-tidal CO2 and respiration. One of the new things they have also made is a 91449 standalone recorder. So with this, you can put it next to a monitor or bedside that may not have a recorder, because with Space Labs equipment, that has always been extra if you add it to the monitor. So some places may not always need one, but if you're in a bind, you can use this rather than have to have it linked to a Central or have it added into the monitor. The next new thing that most of you, I'm sure, have been aware of is the Affordable Care Act. It does reduce the available funds to most hospitals to purchase new equipment and gain these added features, which I'm sure many of them would like to have. Third-party repair companies such as Pacific Medical and USOC and ourselves, Southwestern Biomedical, will come into play with this, being able to offer these new features at a reduced rate to the hospitals. So hopefully we can always step in there. And we've once again been in business for 30 years, solely focusing on Space Labs equipment. Most of our employees have worked here for 5 or over 10 years. The owner, Larry Nielsen, has had his hand in the game since day one. We do strive to stay on top of all of the new technology that's coming out. We've already gotten our hands on the new equipment that Space Labs does have to offer, and I hope that hospitals are interested in the new capabilities. Well, thank you very much. That's all I have for right now.
Jennifer, thank you so much for that presentation. We're going to be moving on here, and we're going to open up to Q&A as soon as we finish with our last presenter, who is going to be Joe Bowen, Senior Technical Supervisor at USOC Medical. Joe graduated from University of California, Irvine in 2002 with a bachelor's degree, and he's worked with Philips IFSC for 6 years before coming to USOC. Joe spends a majority of his time assisting USOC technical staff with the more complex repairs, as well as troubleshooting many different monitor and anesthesia issues. Joe, you can begin whenever you're ready.
Hey everybody, how's it going? My name's Joe, and I'll just be talking a little bit about ourselves to begin. USOC Medical is located in Irvine, California, and we provide third-party biomedical equipment repair solutions and sales throughout the world. We are funded by, we were founded by a biomed and electrical engineer, and that enables us to offer simple solutions for complex devices. Our owner and lead engineer has been in the biomedical industry for more than 14 years and has been determined to create an efficient, reliable repair company that focuses on the biomeds. Here at USOC, what really sets us apart is our experience and workmanship, our dedication, our professionalism, our technical training, and our customer web portal. Our USOC, the main things that we sell and service are infusion pumps, oxygen blenders, MMS modules, patient monitors, fetal transducers, and telemetry transmitters. We also deal with anesthesia, suction regulators, and all patient cables. USOC Medical has a few KPIs, or key performance indicators. We pride ourselves on meeting our customers' expectations every time. We evaluate our performance based off of several indicators which apply to our quality management system. This is how we measure our success: our quality control checklist and our biomed service reports. Here's a couple images of some of the main products that we do service here. Got some modules, suction regulators, telemetry, infusion pumps, so on. Here at USOC Medical, we are ISO 9001, 2008 certified. We're on the .med Top 100 certified list. We have a ANAB accreditation. We're FDA registered, and UCAS management system certified. As far as the future of patient monitoring, one major advancement that we foresee in the near future for patient monitoring would be the increased use of wireless data tracking devices on patients, such as units similar to a Fitbit device, worn on the wrist of athletes to monitor heart rate, and to one day the actual use of portable electrocardiogram machines built into the cases of our smartphones. We believe that in the future there will be an integration between classic medical records and real-time data. This will enable live monitoring of the ups and downs of a patient. This integration will lead to earlier identification of health risks and problems, which will drastically reduce major health problems in patients, meaning longer life and a drastic reduction in the cost of health care. The future of patient monitoring will also heavily involve the use of our smart devices, taking something used in all of our daily lives and making them a useful tool in healthcare. Although there are already many medical apps that you can find for your smart device, one that is currently being developed that we found particularly interesting is the use of your smartphone for doctors to make house calls. Verizon recently announced a virtual doctor visit app. Patients will be able to log into the app from their smart device. The app will tell the patients what their copay will be and ask them to fill out a small questionnaire. Doctors will log in using a username, password, and an authentication code the data exchange will be encrypted and allow for patients to speak to a doctor in real time, face-to-face, from the comfort of their homes. A major benefit to using this app, aside from convenience, will also be that the patient will never be exposed to other airborne pathogens and viruses that they would otherwise be susceptible to in doctors' offices, hospitals, and emergency room waiting rooms. And one of the reasons why we know these things is we have a monthly roundtable discussion here with my technical team where we talk about the advances in patient monitoring and what some of the things are that we need to be looking for as far as the future of not only the medical industry but our company ourselves and the ability to help service the biomeds in the hospitals. In conclusion, we foresee doctors calling for the use of more and more wireless platforms and devices to increase the constant monitoring of individuals' health through the use of their smartphones and other smart devices. Furthermore, increasing the quality of life for patients. The simpler it is to monitor your health and to visit your doctor, the more people will be personally involved with their health and lifestyle choices. This new mobile technology will bring an increase in the amount of doctors' interaction with patients through virtual communication. And that's all I have for today. Thank you, guys.
Joe, thank you so much. Great presentations, everyone. We have a host of questions here to get started with, so we're going to start with Pacific Medical. First question for them, can a hospital reasonably expect to maintain its equipment infrastructure past the planned obsolescence of the OEM?
Yeah, actually, you know, you really can. With the support of a reliable third-party vendor, you're going to be able to maintain your equipment for many years past its, you know, end of life through the OEM. It's you know, part of the reason for the existence of the third-party market is that, and that's really one of its major strengths, and probably see that role actually increasing over time for, you know, all of the subjects we covered through these you know, demonstrations. You know, pretty much everybody touched on that. So third party is pretty much going to be the way that occurs, I believe.
Thank you, Brandon. Okay, next one's for Jerry at Fluke. Why does metrology matter to a biomed, Jerry?
The reason is this. Across the world, the reason that a centimeter is a centimeter and you can rely upon it, a weight measure for mass of a patient or a substance is a gram, and so forth, is because there's this network of metrology that is controlled by SI. And SI units, which some of us learned a little bit about here in the United States in school, and then have done not very much with, except in the medical device industry and healthcare. Those are the measurements that the whole world uses and relies upon for commerce, for exchange, for reliability in determining a patient's condition. The reason that the metrology matters is that's how we make sure that across the world everybody has the same unit of measure. Everything is compared back against a primary standard. So it's really critical. Does it take a long time? No, it should be part of the calibration cycle of your medical device, which you are part of when you do a calibration on that medical device yourself, or for your test instruments, which of course we help deliver back to you, that you get from us with not just the accuracy measurements, but soon the uncertainty around that measurement. That is, if there's any uncertainty about will that adjustment for accuracy hold during the entire calibration cycle or not, what is our certainty or uncertainty about that? That's really important to, again, make sure everybody has a trustworthy idea of the units of measure that we're using to assess these medical devices, many of which are critical to life support all by themselves in their functionality, and others participate in that in the way that they're used to adjust and control the treatment and the therapy on the patient as we try and bring them back to 100% health.
Great, Jerry. Thank you. Next one's for Southwestern Biomed, Jennifer. What changes or advancements would you like to see in patient monitoring?
A change that I believe I would like to see in patient monitoring is more standardized accessories or connectors to the accessories. It's a pretty hard task right now for hospitals, I think, to keep them all straight, make sure that the staff is familiar with each and every one and doesn't mix them up, uses the appropriate cables, because you can have biomeds that are called down because there's no SpO2, but really it's because they used the wrong adapter cable. I believe that more standardized accessories, just because there's so many of them right now, would make life much easier for the personnel at most hospitals.
Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, Joe, USOC, are third-party manufactured parts available, and do you as a third-party vendor have direct relations with the manufacturers?
Yeah, are you asking if they're just available throughout the industry?
The question was, are third-party manufactured parts available, and as a third-party vendor, do you have direct relations with the manufacturers?
Yes, as far as third-party parts being available, they are. And actually part of our ISO is that we have a relationship with any third-party vendor that we decide to use, and they have to go through strict quality procedures, tests, to verify that they do offer the proper quality that we're willing to use with our customers.
Okay, Pacific Medical, this one's for you. Is there any value in my old equipment that has been pulled out of service?
Yeah, actually, there is. As I mentioned before, we, can plan to continue supporting legacy systems, and if you're at a hospital and you're doing a deinstall because your hospital has made way for the new stuff, and you need your something to do with your old equipment, you need to get rid of it. Give us a call. We'll be able to help you out with it, and take it off your hands, and it'll help us continue to support our other customers who aren't as fortunate to have brand new shiny equipment in their hospital.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Jerry, Fluke, what metrological measurements may be affected by 15-lead and 18-lead ECG?
Well, we're not quite sure yet. We're hoping that the 1 millivolt signal that we've always used for ECG as the single standard metrologic measurement does not change just because we add some more lead views of the patient's heart and the electrical signal of the heart. However, it's right now we don't know what we don't know, so we're waiting to see. We're working with manufacturers of patient monitors that are developing and continuing to develop 18 and 15 lead ECG, including defibrillator manufacturers, because that seems to be a high level of interest for them as well. So we'll know a little bit more as we get a little bit closer to commercial release of these new additional views and additional lead wires to make those views happen. But we're hopeful, we're very hopeful that the 1 millivolt CalPulse doesn't go away.
Thank you, Jerry. Okay, Southwest Biomed, do you believe it is becoming more difficult for third-party vendors to complete board-level repairs on equipment?
I don't believe it's becoming more difficult for third-party vendors to complete third-party repairs. If you have appropriate staff and they're trained and experienced, especially like us only focusing on Space Labs equipment, we've seen what Space Labs puts out for over 30 years. We kind of know what to expect. We have a good working relationship with the OEM. We can get service manuals, tech specs. We know who to call to get other parts that we buy from other vendors. And as far as I'm aware, most technicians should be familiar with staying up to date with new technology, and most of our technicians are excited to work on the new stuff and get their hands on it, but I don't believe it would be difficult at all.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. USOC, in your opinion, which OEM has the most durable, best support products for service?
In my opinion, I would probably have to go with Philips, just based off of their software and user interface seems to be the most user-friendly that I've seen. And that's probably, they seem to have what I would call the most advanced technology, like I said, and when they make it user-friendly, makes it easier for the nurses to use and makes training a lot easier.
Thank you so much. Okay, this next one's for Pacific. We are currently in need of an MRI compatible patient monitor, but there are very few suppliers for this. Is there any plan to get new models or designs for MRIs?
Well, as far as, coming out with new models or designs, anything that's not currently market available, I wouldn't know about because it hasn't, hit the market yet, and we're not an OEM. However, that being said, for, finding a resource to get something that is existing for MRI compatibility, which is also, it is difficult to find, and it's also really expensive too, which is kind of some of the downfalls of trying to acquire that equipment. But, we do have resources for such equipment, so if that's something that, somebody out there needs, look us up and give us a ring. We'll be happy to help you out. But as far as I'm not aware of anything on the market that's going to come down in price for those specialty items.
Okay, Jerry, Fluke, this one's for you. Why is reflective technology coming?
Well, reflectance pulse oximetry has been out there for a long time, but it hasn't been used as widely as the absorption technology. And I'm actually not exactly sure. Some of the use, for example, of reflectance technology is the forehead sensor. And the reason that that's used as a reflectance technology is you've really got a lot of bone right immediately under the tissue, not very far underneath, highly vascularized. The really nice part about the blood vessel that goes across your forehead there is that it doesn't constrict when all of the rest of the blood vessels in your physiology constrict due to shock or lots of other reasons. And so you continue to be able to get a good blood pressure and oximetry, well, a good oximetry measurement there, even in low perfusion scenarios. So that's why it's clinically relevant and useful. But in terms of why the increased interest in it, beyond just that particular sensor, maybe it's because those companies, the patient monitoring companies that are interested, did not have that kind of a sensor available and are now trying to create patient monitors in particular for use in first responders and air medical transport, things like that, where low perfusion really happens all the time because of the nature of the injury to the patient or one thing or another. So that could be, but that's kind of supposition. I don't have enough information, voice of the customer we call that, to really give much more of a clarification about that.
Thank you, Jerry. Okay, a couple more here. Jennifer, Southwest Biomed, what are some common problems you see with current models of patient monitors?
Common problems that I see with current patient monitors. Like common failures.
Okay, we got one more question here. USOC, Joe, how willing are manufacturers to provide parts and training, in your opinion?
I think it's give and take. I think that the OEMs are willing to offer limited training in limited parts as far as that goes, but I don't think that they want to allow third parties like ourselves to just hand over the information. I think that, you know, they'll give you enough to get you in the biomeds troubleshoot, but they're not very willing to go down as deep as we actually do, down to component level as far as repairing items.
Okay, great. Thank you, Joe. Okay, that's going to wrap up today's webinar. We want to thank each of our presenters today, and thank you again for our sponsors. 50 lucky attendees will be randomly selected to win a special edition Webinar Wednesday Power Bank and pouch. Details are included in the post-webinar survey, which will appear on your screen shortly. If you do not see the survey, email us at webinar@mdpublishing.com. Thank you again. We look forward to seeing everyone at the next Webinar Wednesday. Have a great rest of the day.